welcome to the show, where we share the stories of the many who intersect with our healthcare system but are rarely heard from. My name is Kevin Poe, founder and editor of Kevin MD. Rate and review the show at kevinmd.com/rate. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/follow. Today's show, we have Nabil Fanous. He is a facial plastic surgeon and he's the author of the book, The Universal Rules of Life, 27 Secrets for Managing Time, Stress, and People. There's an excerpt on Kevin MD from that book titled Stop the I Will Habit. Nabil, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you.
We'll get into your book and excerpt in a little bit. First off, briefly share your story and journey to where you are today.
Well, very briefly, I teach facial plastic surgery at McGill, and 2 years ago, the residents asked me if I could help them managing time. I give some rules. I added few rules later on. It became a success. The professors asked to have the course, and then it went to different medical conferences, and it was extremely well received. So I decided to write the book. And the book has been on now since April and is doing very well.
So from a medical trainee standpoint, tell me what some of the biggest problems that you see when it comes to medical trainees and managing their time.
Bad time management. Bad time management. So there is a rule in my book that I think there are 2 rules or 3 rules that would answer that, because I said I have 27 rules. Rule number 1, the rule that was the subject of the article, which says, do it now, perfect it later. Stop the I will habit. That's rule number 1. Basically, the rule says, just start. The important thing is start and the rest will follow. Just do something, anything, and later you can perfect it. So that's rule number 1. Another rule that is very helpful, I find, is rule number 6 that says, eliminate it, delegate it, or shrink it. The 3 time management secrets of doing what you don't have time to do. So if there is the best way to do something that doesn't need to be done is not to do it at all. Eliminate it. The best way to do something that you don't have to do personally is to let someone else do it for you. Delegate it. And if you can't eliminate and you can delegate, at least shrink it. I'll give you an example. You are invited to a party. Arrive late or leave early. That's shrinking things. So this is the second rule. The third rule that is very helpful too in time management is unitask. Rule 16. Unitask, don't multitask. How to be highly focused and yet totally productive and totally stress-free and in the moment. And that's one of the biggest problems with physicians. They just multitask. No good. Unitask is the answer. So here we are.
So you have these residents who's made it through rigorous undergraduate training to get into medical school, and then they complete medical school and now they're residents and interns. Now, are you telling me that they still have poor time management skills after going through all that schooling training to get to where they are today?
Yeah, because school training doesn't teach you life. School training doesn't teach you the rules of life. That doesn't teach you how to treat people, socially. It teaches you how to treat people medically. It teaches you disease. It doesn't teach you people. It doesn't teach you how to control your stress. It doesn't teach you how to control your time. Big difference.
All right. So the book is titled The Universal Rules of Life, 27 Secrets for Managing Time, Stress, and People. Now, you said that this book grew from your talk at first to medical trainees. So what would you say are some of the biggest problems that you see medical trainees face? And I know you talked about a little bit earlier, but go into more detail. What would you say is the biggest problem that medical trainees face in making that jump from going to school to, like you said, dealing with people and now during their medical intern years?
No, there are many problems. I mean, basically, the 3 things that I mentioned in my 27 secrets managing is, again, it applies to them. Problem with time, problem with stress, problem with dealing with people. And the three are kind of interconnected, because if you don't have time, you're stressed. And if you're stressed, you can't deal really with people. Again, it's not just medical student or
Yeah.
doctor. I think it's everyone. The problem in our society now is these three things. People are like, I give you this, the I told you the rule 16 about unitask, don't multitask. Everybody is multitasking on the phone, on the computer, on the internet, on an app, and that's basically it does two things. It stresses you out more, and it kills the interpersonal relationships. So it's all interconnected. I really don't think there is one problem. I think the whole thing is interconnected. You need to approach the three together.
So let's talk about unitasking versus multitasking. And like
Yeah.
you said, this just doesn't apply to resident physicians. It applies to pretty much everyone out there, every physician out there. So physicians, as you know, I'm a primary care physician, and we are just inundated with things coming all at us at all times. So
Yes.
give us some techniques on how we can unitask in the environment where so many things are coming at us at once.
Well, the first thing is to use rule one and rule 16, rule six, which is eliminating the big, okay, here, the biggest secret of time management is rule six, but the biggest secret of rule six is elimination,
Hmm.
not efficiency. People think you have to be efficient. No, you have to eliminate what you're doing, not to try to be efficient in what you're doing, because efficiency has no end. You have to be efficient, then you have to, you work, okay, let us, the more efficient you are, the more work you'll get.
Yeah.
Because remember, before the internet and before the smartphones, we had more time, but we were busy too. And now with the phones, in spite of the fact that the letter that should used to take you 2 weeks to get it to destination, now take you 2 minutes, and then still you have more and more and more letters. So there is no ending to overwhelming your time. You have more supplies of work and things to do. The trick is elimination. You stop some apps, you eliminate some emails, you stop dealing with some people, and so on. You delegate some of your, but elimination is the most important. Delegation is very helpful, but it's amazing how we can eliminate things that we don't need to do.
So go into more detail about your mindset for eliminating whether it's
Yes.
tasks or people or things to
So
do.
here,
So tell me your mindset in terms of how exactly we should
okay,
go about doing that.
good. So elimination. I start, the first section of elimination is emails, eliminating unnecessary emails. Any one of us should have at most three emails. One personal that only friends and family know. One medical or professional. And if you are a business owner, so one just for your business, say. But that's it. That's it. All the other emails have to be eliminated. Now, sometimes when you meet people and they ask you for your email, you have to give an email. Now, I call that the dead email. Get an email that you never open,
Mhm.
and you give it to the people you don't want to hear ever from. And therefore, that would clear. Of course, you don't have it on your phone, so whoever you ask you for your email, you don't want to give your email, just give that email, which is functioning, by the way, but it just accumulates no answer. So you end up with three emails, and that's number one. Number two, in terms of when to look at your phone, I call that the windows, the daily three windows. 3 times a day, maximum 4 times a day, morning, evening, and in the middle of the day, 15 minutes. You go through quickly your phone. You answer, when you answer, you have to use rule number 3 in time management, which is cutting corners, it's shrinking. Instead of saying, hi, Michael, how are you? I hope all is well with you. I want to, all that. Michael, please send me that. End of story. So we really have to cut corners, eliminating number one, delegate anything you can delegate. Even, I mean, most clinicians have means to get someone to help. And the most helpful person is usually not a regular assistant secretary. It's just someone who is willing to do our jobs for you. That would be the most, it could be a son, it could be a neighbor's son, it could be a neighbor, it could be an elderly person who wants to work, to just pass things, get me this, get me that, order this, and so on. So it's amazing how you could do that. Like, you have to understand, I am an extremely busy, I have a huge practice in Montreal, probably one of the biggest in Canada. And we have 22 people working in our clinic. And yet I had the time to do that book. Not only that, but I had time once it went on and it was a success so far. I translated it into French. So the French version is on now. And we'll have, I mean, within 6 months or a year, a Russian and a German version coming out. But I have to work on all that. And yet I have the time to never work on Saturday or Sunday. So, as I said, it's amazing how you could manage time if you really take it seriously of blocking the time you spend on the phone. The phone is the biggest killer.
Mm.
The phone is a block the time on the phone. Turn off all notifications because they are deadly. The most important phone number, by the way, your phone number, nobody knows it except the very important people. They want to call you, they can call you on the phone on a answering machine. And so you block the phone, that's one, that's already a lot. That gives you a lot of time. And then you cut down TV viewing to say half an hour a day. And the rest, you'll end up talking to people and enjoying yourself.
So blocking emails, and spending less time on the phone is one thing, but you also mentioned people in terms of your interactions with people and how often you should interact with certain people over others. So how do you go about deciding who to interact with more or less?
Okay. Rule number 10 says your goal number one in life is happiness.
Mm-hmm.
How to implement the 4 indispensable secrets of living happily. So what are these 4 indispensable secrets? The first, you can start guessing, but you'll be surprised. The first is working and keeping busy. The second is exciting expectations in the future. The third is staying healthy. And the fourth is having a family and friends network. So family and friends networks is 1/4 of happiness. It's like a table with 4 legs. You remove one leg, the table doesn't stand up. So now, not all friends are equal. You have very close friends, you have good friends, and then you have acquaintances. Same thing with family. Very close cousin, not a bad cousin, and even with brothers and sisters. So my rule is you have to have that network, you have to communicate with that network. As long as you communicate, you keep the network alive. Meaning, when I send a text to a good friend and say, how are you? I have revived the link. The communication now, the network is alive now with me and him. So it's like a light bulb going on. Just that. And sometimes you need to do that maybe once For acquaintances, once a year, they will be even surprised. If you have time, you send a text. If you have more time, you make a phone call from your car, which is, as long as you know your way. Your way is the usual way. It's not the words you going back to work or going home. So you know your way. You don't have to think. So it depends. Very close friends, I think you have to contact them to to revive the link by any way every 2 3 months minimum. Average friends, minimum once every 6 7 months, and acquaintances every year. Just something. And of course, that applies to family too. So it's the idea of don't take your friends and family for like guaranteed. They need to be contacted, and you don't need to contact them when you need them. Because believe it or not, loneliness is a silent killer. We love to belong and to be loved. And we don't realize important people in our life till we need them. And then when you call, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
When you call, it's like someone who is looking for work. If you're looking for work and you're working, is one thing. If you're looking for work and you're out of work, is another. When you call someone when they don't, you don't need them, that's appreciated. And then when you need them, it doesn't bother them because your credit is there. But if you call them only when you need them, not good. And that often happens. So the fourth secret of happiness is just keep that network buzzing
Mm.
with anything, with a little call, with a card, with a little, sometimes by an email, a quick email, a picture, sharing an article, just a link. They remember you. And that's it.
We're talking to Nabil Fanes. He is a facial plastic surgeon, and he's the author of the book, The Universal Rules of Life, 27 Secrets for Managing Time, Stress, and People. Nabil, what's the number one thing that my listeners can do right now to better manage their time, stress, and their network? And maybe you could end off with some take-home messages. The number one thing that we should do right now.
It's not one thing. It's really more than one thing. There is no one thing. I'll give you an example. If I ask you, what is the one thing that will make you in good health and fit? What are you going to say? Exercise is not enough. You need exercise, you need good sleep, you need good nutrition, you need the medical annual examination, you need the low level of stress. I mean, all this makes good health. Good health is not one thing. So I really think there are 27 rules. Some of them are more important than others. But I would say, yes, that they're all important. I give you actually the most important things about happiness. I mean, number 10, happy. When you think about it, make sure you have something in your life coming, a little trip, a lunch break, a visit with friends, something that makes a TV show at the end of the day, something that you look for, and staying healthy. And that's a long chapter, by the way, that you'll like, because there is a lot in common with you and I on that. I heard some of your videos. And the last one is a friend, and this is so important. Friend, people we cannot live without. We think we can live without them, but when something happens, the phone is not good anymore.
Nabil, thank you so much for sharing your time and insight. Thanks again for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.